Hello, friends. A very warm welcome to Ansarkari and continuing the series of Economics Optional Paper 1. Again, in the same light, we are going to try to bring the best out of our understanding. And the goal is again to have a kind of a standard which must help us to write better, to retain better, and in the minimum time possible, how we can push ourselves to the higher level. That is why everything is being done in exam like condition without any kind of mechanical or any kind of preconceived exercise. So that is why it is a very genuine and authentic effort towards making the examination process demystified and making it purely a kind of meaningful and a smart exercise. So I'll start in the same way like the way I've done in the past episode. In this paper, I'll be just starting with the question, and Mansi will be taking it forward, and she'll be trying to analyze and also reviewing the same. The question says, what is Ricardo Pigous thesis regarding the transfer of public debt to future generations?
So, sir, in this, we see that Ricardo and Pigou thesis form the basis of intergenerational parity with distinct views presented by both the economists. So, firstly, Ricardo's view is stated that there is going to be no burden on the future generation. So, explanation that consumption expenditure will be decided by the disposable income and expected future income. And when debt financed by the government, people will save more from the disposable income to pay higher future taxes. So present consumption will fall because of this, and any tax cut today will thus not stimulate the economic growth also. And future taxes transfers income from taxpayers to the bondholders who forms a part of present generation. That is why he stated there's going to be no burden on future generation. Whereas when we come to Pigou's view, we say that it will increase the burden. So if the debt financing is used to spend on the revenue expenditure, by the government, the future generation faces double whammy in the form of higher taxes also and with no benefits. And this distorts the resource allocation, causing dead weight loss. So, to maintain the intergenerational equality, capital expenditure should increase, and that will increase the tax to GDP ratio and generate sustainable income for the government. Maintain fiscal discipline as under the FRBM Act and sovereign wealth funds to repay the future debt and keep a check on the revenue deficit. So, this public debt, it must be self-sustaining exercise to ensure the potential GDP growth.
All the points you have put up, and I believe there would have been certain theorem or formula. It would also come up. Otherwise, rest you have been able to just put it in a very clear way,
जी.
and I think the structure and the points are on track. We will just see it.
Hmm.
Define prisoner's dilemma with an example and explain its applicability in the real world.
जी. So President's dilemma, it occurs when information asymmetry and maximizing benefits tendency, it leads the economic agents towards decisions not obeying the Pareto optimum criteria. So example is followers problem seen in oligopoly market. So here there's one firm would be leader, one would be follower. So when both the firms they choose to be the follower, that is 8 would be the benefits. They are less than the maximum that is possible under being a leader and a follower. So prisoner's dilemma occurs when a firm decides to be the follower or not, and Pareto optimum welfare will occur in the follower's role when other is the leader. So firms settle at payoff of 1. So
One.
pay because 9 can be achieved when you are a follower. And applicability, like we have Laffer curve, so whether increasing the tax rate will increase government's tax revenue or not. So this is one prisoner's dilemma. Then we have tragedy of commons, trusting the other nations of not misusing the space or the Antarctica involves prisoner's dilemma. The nuclear deterrence have really met the objectives and will continue to do so or not in future is a dilemma. So therefore, prisoner's dilemma is a strategy to decode the behavioral economics to maximize welfare.
Wonderful.
Mm, Jason.
Why do positive externalities lead to inefficient outcomes in the economy? Discuss the government mechanisms of adjusting for externalities with examples.
Jesus. So positive externalities they generate beneficial outcomes to sections not directly involved in its consumption or production. And these benefits are not captured in the market price, leading to market failure. So here in a free market, individuals they only care about the private benefits, ignoring social benefits like healthcare services generates productive labor force. So as a result, this is the social marginal benefit would be higher than the private marginal benefit, and the good or the service is under consumed, which is this is the gap, the KT. This is under consumption below the social optimum at point T. And this triangle showcases the deadweight loss because of this under consumption. And the allocative inefficiencies resulted like government spends only 1.6% on healthcare. So adjusting mechanism would be that subsidies for food grains like with PDS and vaccination. Then public goods like government hospitals and primary healthcare centers are there, and tax incentives to encourage production like SEZ units offered tax holiday benefits. So therefore positive externalities they demand government intervention to ensure market optimum and promote inclusive growth objective.
Okay.
जी
So let's go for the review answers, please.
So
As I
here,
just said.
जी Ricardo and Pigous debt, public debt burden shifting to future generation now. So the transfer of the public debt to the future generation leads to intergenerational inequality and is not sound
Correct.
from a welfare point of view. So
Agreed.
Ricardo thesis, Ricardian equivalence said if debt is $1 today, it leads to 1 plus R to the power T dollars to be paid in future. And this leads to excess burden falling on future generation to finance the present consumption. So this also leads to interference with the consumption patterns.
Consumption pattern.
When the public debt increases, people are forward looking and can anticipate that this will be financed by the higher taxes in future. So this will reallocate their consumption in present and reduce their consumption to finance higher taxes in future. This leads to misallocation of resources, and to maintain intergenerational equity, golden rule of finance should be adopted. That is, finance current consumption through the current revenue and capital consumption through the public debt, so that cost and benefit are enjoyed by the same generation. In the real world, Ricardian equivalence operates, but not to the same extent as proposed by Ricardo. Public debt remains a potent tool to finance government projects. But
Even the comment is there that, yeah,
Mhm.
comment is there that refer to the solution,
Solutions.
analyze what thereby, mentioned about servicing of debt via bonds.
G.
So when you compare our answer with this one, how we can
Mhm.
conclude it?
So I would say that here the Pigou's view is completely missing in the answer. It was asking Ricardo and Pigou both. So Ricardian
Yeah.
equivalence is clearly explained, but Pigou is completely absent. So
And in Ricardo's, we can learn, we can really pick up and we can learn the examples that I have taken up. $1, 1 plus R. That is, I think, a very
hmm,
simple way to present. Move
implement.
on to the next one.
In prisoner's dilemma with example and applicability. So prisoner's dilemma happens when due to asymmetric information, the rational economic agents choose the option that is not in their best interest in a Nash equilibrium game. So for example, in duopoly, when the firms they decide whether to cooperate or compete with each other, since they cannot observe each other's actions directly, it leads to choosing of a suboptimal strategy. So whether to collude or to compete. When A decides to collude, B's best response is to compete, which is higher payoff. Similarly, when B decides to collude, A's best response is to compete, becomes so compete becomes a Nash equilibrium strategy. Dilemma is although optimal strategy is to choose to collude, in the payoff of 8 each, they decide to compete and settle for suboptimal outcome of competing with payoff of 3 each. Then applicability, so tragedy of commons, when optimal consumption of common resources like pasture land, river water, etc. does not happen, leads to overexploitation of resources. And competition in oligopoly, they forego the monopoly profit while competing. Pollution of natural resources by people, and stocking of nuclear weapons by states. So this prisoner's dilemma can be resolved if perfect information is available about the agent's decisions and optimal allocation and distribution can be achieved.
So here 5.5 marks are given. How much marks we should provide to ourselves?
Um, so I think it would be similar somewhere around this only.
At least five. At
Can
least five to.
G.
At, you want to say half marks more than this? This half
So
marks more than.
that is going to vary because the approach is same. I have taken the example of a different example from oligopoly, so that is also valid. But it depends then. Otherwise,
So
I
how?
can't
Yeah,
spot any major difference.
you want to say, like, you want to say at least this much marks will be there. 5.5 marks would be there.
G
Correct?
out of 110.
Out of 10. Move
Hmm.
on.
And positive externalities and inefficiencies. So positive externality happens when there are positive spillover effect on the society as a result of the private transactions. It's creating a social good, but is it leads to under provisioning in the market, which operates on the basis of private cost and benefit. So example is market for education, and the diagrams of consumption of education by the individuals created positive externality in the form of creating human capital, so higher growth obedience to the law and order. Market mechanism is that the marginal benefit, the private sector equals to marginal cost, equilibrium at EP. She has drawn a different diagram. So socially beneficial outcome, the explained result would be Q1, Q2 gap under provisioning. And reason is failure to internalize the positive inequality. So asymmetric information is there in free ridership problem. So government mechanism is public provisioning of the private goods after internalizing the externality. Example, government schools and hospitals. Tax rebates to reduce the marginal cost and subsidy to consumers. So there's a government interference in laissez-faire market is justified to ensure allocational efficiency is achieved when there are externalities involved.
Okay.
So in this, I took the example of healthcare, and the rest is somewhat similar. Can say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is on the similar lines,
The
but
only
however,
thing I
in
would say that,
objectivity,
sir, हाँ जी, यहाँ पे जो government mechanism है, she has explained the mechanisms through connecting with the diagram itself. So that can be one added area.
yeah. So if over here, I think 9.5 marks are there out of 20. How much we
Mhm.
can give to the answer that we have written?
So 8.5.
8, at least 8 to 8.5.
So 15
And the
marks.
point that you're taking up, that is good for us. Wonderful. I think great.
G.
So this kind of understanding and this kind of takeaway can really help someone to raise the bar when we are writing and when we are working with clarity. And this is whole the idea of going with such kind of approach. So thank you
G.
very much, one and all, and let's together get success with Ansarkari so that you continue working for the goals not only just in your personal life but also at a large.